All right, chat, this is a huge video that everyone's been telling me to react to. One of the biggest, FPS content creators on the platform of YouTube, JackFrags, reacted to Diaz's clip, and he kind of breaks it down. And I know this has been highly requested. I've got multiple people tell me to react to this video. So drop a like, guys, if you're brand new, hit that subscribe button to the channel. Second channel, you guys have been killing it. I mean, killing it, man. Overall, let's react to him and see what JackFrags has to say. He breaks down like the whole clip and everything.
Something a bit different today. We're going to be taking a look at a clip that is circulating in the Call of Duty Warzone community.
Circulating. I love his voice.
Content creator named DiazBiffle, and it was streamed on his Twitch channel on the 13th of January. Let's take a look at the clip.
See.
Is the game back? Is the game back?
Here's the clip.
What was that? What was that, D? I don't know where the fuck he is, to be honest.
It's funny, chat, because I'll literally react it like that just to like kind of get a reaction out of the chat too, which kind of caused this whole uproar.
You're both kind of connected there.
It's an unusual clip, isn't it? On first viewing, it seems like at one point he's shooting an invisible player on the tarmac of the airfield in front of him and gets an armor break. This has led to some members of the Warzone community accusing DiazBiffle of using a cheat called silent aim or magnetic bullets. What is silent aim? Here's a clip of somebody spectating a cheater using silent aim.
Yeah, that's
from
OD.
7 months ago on the COD Warzone Reddit. It allows a cheater to fire near an enemy target and hit them even if they're not looking at them. Now, I think this whole thing is fascinating, and the clip itself is begging to be looked at and picked apart. So that's what we're doing today, a detailed analysis.
Yeah, also with this video, I'm really excited to see how he breaks this down, but it makes you think, like, why, if he did it for that, if he had magnetic bullets for that one kill, why would he do it for all the other ones? He didn't even get the kill off of that shot. So it's just people stretching at this point.
Just for transparency, I don't know DiazBiffle. I've never spoken with him. The only thing I care about here is trying to understand what happened in the clip. Can it be explained, and is it possible within the rules and parameters of the game without third-party software? And I've actually done some in-game testing here too, and discovered some very interesting things about the game that I didn't know before. I've taken the clip from the source as well. This is the best quality we've got. It's 963p at an 8000 bitrate. What's the context for this clip then? What happened before it? Well, it's a public game of Warzone that Biffle is streaming. He's queued with friends about an hour into his live stream on Twitch. They find a lobby, drop at airfield, and he gets off to a pretty good start, netting 12 kills within 4 minutes.
He was going off
on PC with a controller. So we're now at the start of the clip. Biffle is in the airport terminal with a UAV overhead and spots a player on the other side of the building, engaging them with his SMG. He gets a fair few hits on the enemy before receiving some
his shot with that Tommy guy was nuts.
Reloads, runs outside, pre-fires where he thinks the player is, fires 4 shots and gets an armor break with one of those bullets. He takes a breather, plates up, pushes towards where he thinks the player has run to. You can hear a window smash. Goes through the building, chasing them with the door open, out the window, finally killing the player he was fighting in the building as they jumped down from the side.
This guy was running away.
This is the same player because they've got the same skin, and no one else was here on the UAV, so it's more than likely to be the same person. The first thing I want to think about here is intent. Why did Biffle pre-fire that location as he came out the door? If you're an experienced player, you may have noticed it the first time I played the clip. Moments before, there's another ping on the UAV showing that player closer to Biffle, and then you can hear the footsteps of the player on the left side.
Let me hear this. Let me see.
I'm making an assumption here based on my experience with FPS games that Biffle guesses roughly and also incorrectly where they are based on that directional audio, and
he has a UAV
firing, hoping to connect. It's also possible that Biffle thought the collection of plants there was a player, or they knew that the tree was there and that was a likely position for the player to hide behind. Now we're going to pause here and take a look. There is no player model visible on the screen. There's no one behind the tree closest to him, in front of him.
Yeah, there isn't.
The trees on this map are too thin, and you would see a player model sticking out. There's no one behind the smaller plant here next to the tree, and there's no one behind the tree in the background. So where is the player that gets hit? We can't see them here, so were they invisible? You may have heard about invisible skins in the game recently, but this is unlikely as invisible players.
If you saw right there, the guy actually had his crosshairs on the guy. Like his crosshairs were kind of like where the guy was hiding behind that, like, I don't know what you call that little divot right there, but His crosshairs were right on it when he showed the clip right there.
In recent builds of Warzone are in fact visible within 35 meters, and they're not completely invisible either. You can see their heads floating around like this, so there's not an invisible
I can't believe that was a thing.
Was it a Claymore or proximity mine that happened to go off exactly at the same time that Biffle fired these shots? Well, I watched the whole round before this happened in real time, and Biffle doesn't use any of those devices. He doesn't plant a Claymore, he doesn't put a proxy mine down. It's not that. So there has to be a player here somewhere in this field of view, and based on the evidence we have, I think they're stood roughly here, behind the planter and obscured completely by the vegetation. Here's why I think that. First, let's take a look frame by frame at the shots fired. Pay attention to the ammo count and the position of the crosshair. So Biffle comes out, first bullet hip fire, it's roughly at the top of the planter.
His crosshair's on it.
That's the bullet that I think hits the enemy and breaks their armor. Keep in mind that this is a hip fire shot, which means there's more spread and dispersion on where that shot goes. Also, don't worry, we're going to talk about this later on.
Wow.
Second bullet hits the tree. You can clearly see the puff of smoke there. Third bullet, fully aimed down the sight now, hits the tarmac, puff of smoke. Fourth bullet hits the tarmac, puff of smoke. 1, 2, 3, and 4. How do we know that only one bullet hits here though? Well, we have to analyze the hit markers. The first bullet is fired. There's a bit of travel time, and then boom, blue hit marker with an armor break symbol.
Yeah.
And then if we keep going forwards frame by frame, we can see that it only pulses once and it remains blue. There are no other hit markers after the first one.
No.
And if there was, it would be quite obvious, and here's why.
And the
When
guy
you break armor in Warzone.
And the guy was already one shot. D had already literally took all of his plates off when he fought him in the beginning. Wow. Hey, shout out to JackFrags for really breaking this shit down.
The same target again. It creates a new white hit marker. If there was another hit after that armor break, we would see a new white hit marker and another pulse. I've done a quick demonstration here to show you how that looks. I fire and get the armor break hit marker with the armor break symbol. It pulses once and it's all blue. I fire again after the armor break, a new white hit marker.
A white hit marker
to indicate that the enemy doesn't have any armor, and it pulses again. Now we don't see that second white hit marker or second pulse in the Biffle clip. That means that only one of those bullets hits, and it's the first one. So if that's the case, based on the position of the crosshair, the player has to be somewhere in this direction. They're not visible on the screen, so they must be obscured behind the planter and foliage. There is more evidence to suggest this is the rough position of the enemy player too, and that's from the final pulse of the UAV. After the armor break, the UAV pulses one more time and reveals the location.
He's outside to the left. He's outside to the left,
if we look at the minimap on the source video, we can see that they're roughly at that side of the planter.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, you know, I knew that he was on the UAV, like he was in that vicinity where he like kind of pre-fired outside. So to think people use some sort of like magnetic bullets, I mean, the guy was in that location. And like I said, I'm gonna keep saying the thing. Why would he use magnetic bullets or cheat for a hit marker when he didn't even get the kill? I just thought, why?
The footstep sounds, of course, also indicate that a player is outside the building too. So this is my initial hypothesis. Biffle fights the player across the hallway, damaging them heavily. The enemy player then runs outside to the back of the planter to take cover. Biffle hears those footsteps, incorrectly assuming that they're closer than they are, pre-fires as he comes out the door, but as he aims down the sights, turns his camera and shoots, his first hip-fire bullet hits the player behind the planter through the foliage. The rest of the shots, 2, 3, and 4, hit nothing but the tree and tarmac. I think that's what happened, but I would be remiss if I didn't actually test this and see if I could replicate it. So that's what I did.
Wow, he actually does replicate it.
23 people for this because for some reason you need that many to start a private.
Start a custom games, yeah.
Thanks so much to all those people on my Discord who helped. You're all legends. So we launched the match, found the exact gun that Biffle was using, the M1912 SMG with a 9mm Parabellum. I asked my friend Johnny to go behind the planter, and I strafed out from the rough location Biffle was in to see if I could hit him at all with hipfire. As you can see, after a few attempts, I did manage to hit him this way, and on multiple occasions. So it is possible to shoot people through that foliage with a lucky hipfire shot. Remember that hipfire has spread. As demonstrated here, hipfire bullets do not always go to the center of the crosshair, as you can see. Sometimes, however, they do. Wrapping things up, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. You may have already noticed it as I pointed it out earlier. In Biffle's clip, after he fires the first shot that breaks the armor, you can see a particle effect rendered in the game. These 2 orange flashes here that turn into 1 in the next frame. This is generated from his first bullet. if we're to go by what the particle effect is doing, it looks like the first bullet hits the concrete about halfway down, even though the center of his crosshair is higher up. And if that's the case, the bullet would have had to travel through the concrete at that angle and hit the enemy on the other side. Seems a bit far-fetched, doesn't it? If you know about Warzone, you'd probably guess that you can't shoot through something this thick with an SMG,
Nah, you
even
can't.
with FMJ on. So again, I tested this. Johnny is standing roughly at that angle, and I'm attempting to hit him through the concrete. And you know what? It doesn't work. You can't penetrate this material with that SMG. So my theory is busted, right? Well, what if I told you that the particle effects of where your bullets are going in the game sometimes lie to you? Sounds far-fetched again, just like...
And it makes sense with the integration, the way some of this stuff is bugged. 100% that happens. As far as like, I think Modern Warfare was the most sound game when it came to these little details right here. As far as like Vanguard and Cold War, they were pretty rushed integrations, and I feel like things like this are the attention to detail. That was the one thing Modern Warfare did great, was the attention to detail. As far as Vanguard and Cold War, I can see why like that they're lying. That's why that lies to you.
But it's true, and I have examples of this in the same scenario that Biffle was in, because I wanted to test this as well. Let's take a look. So watch closely here. Johnny is behind the planter again, where I think that player was, and I'm strafing out attempting to hit him with a hipfire shot. I successfully connect. There's the hit marker, but
you saw a particle.
The particle effect generated by me firing the gun is down here in the concrete, and there's multiple particle effects there too.
Yep.
My client is showing me that's where my bullet went, but the server is registering my bullet going in a different direction and hitting Johnny. I have a few other examples of this too, and I think this is what happens in the Biffle clip. His bullet on the server ends up roughly where the center of his crosshair is when he shoots, traveling through the foliage and hitting the enemy. But the particle effect for that bullet on his client shows it hitting the concrete.
Wow.
This appears to be a mismatch between the client and the server. And here are some more clips of me testing this and producing the same results. Hit marker on a player behind the foliage. The bullet looks like it goes in a completely different place. And again, same scenario, that's a hit, but the particle effect is elsewhere.
Yep.
So I think that actually could be a bug in the game that maybe Raven aren't aware of, but it's worth showing nonetheless. In conclusion, I think that everything that happened in that clip is possible within the standard parameters and rules of the game. Do I know that for 100% certain? No, I'm simply basing that on my analysis of the clip and my own in-game testing. I have to point out here too that what we're seeing in the clip is not the reality of what actually happened in the game on Biffle's computer. What I mean by that is that he's playing at 1440p resolution on a 240Hz monitor and getting 180 to 200 frames per second at the time of the clip. What we're seeing is a 963p resolution, 60 FPS, low quality version of that with screen tearing and a lot of frames and information missing. I always like to bear that in mind when watching other people play via live streams or video. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.
That was great. That was probably one of the best breakdowns I've ever seen. JackFrags did a great job. Do I think D is cheating? No, and neither should you. It was a great breakdown. I think for me, it wasn't needed, but for a lot of people, man, they need that kind of explanation. But like I said, I'll always stand by the fact, why would he do it for a hit marker versus like all the other kills? They think anybody good nowadays cheats, and it's unfortunate. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys think of that breakdown. JackFrags, yo, GG's, man, that was a hell of a breakdown. I hope to see more clips broken down like that in the future for sure. Even if you think somebody is cheating, I would love to see the opposition of that. But shout out to D for just being an insane player and in-game awareness. And also, there's a great point that he made as far as what D sees on his screen versus what you see is totally different, man. Like the 1440p monitor, the whole spiel like that, it's so different. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.